Deckard, a Blade Runner, has to track down and terminate 4 replicants with a 4-year lifespan who have hijacked a ship in space and have returned to Earth seeking their maker in the 1982 science fiction classic Blade Runner, starring Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Sean Young, and directed by Ridley Scott.
I need your deck. This is a bad one, the worst yet.
The film was a modest success in 1982 when it was released, and this was probably because they were expecting a science fiction movie from Harrison Ford such as Raiders of the Lost Ark or Star Wars, and that's not what they got. Instead, what they got was a realistic, film noirish, more so of a stick true to the story rather than an adventurous audience pleaser, which is why I think I like it so much. It challenges the audience to stay with it, but at the same time, it's not actionless, it's not boring. It combines the quality of the two. I just think it takes a little effort on the audience's part to get into it. The world that Ridley Scott created in his direction was really almost frightening, because if you look at the date, it says 2019 Los Angeles, which, I mean, the movie was made in 1982, so he might have undershot it just a little bit, but the way that Los Angeles looks, you'll see it's very polluted, it's very dark, the sun never seems to shine, it's very cluttered. I'm sure it's a world that most people don't want to live in, but I think the message being sent here is that's where the world is going. Although it's not an environmentalist movie, not at all. I wouldn't like it either if it was. It's just interesting to see, to have like the foresight of what the world is going to look like. And Ridley Scott has a great ability for that if you've seen him other science fiction movies that he did, like such as Alien and the recent Prometheus. Now, I guess it's a fair statement to say that Harrison Ford really isn't an actor's actor. He's more known for his box office hits like Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark, which aren't really performance savvy. And I guess you could say that Blade Runner falls into that category too, but this is a lot more performance driven in my view, and I think it's one of Harrison Ford's finest performances. Having said that, I believe that Rutger Hauer really shines through this movie. It's one of his first American movies, and as far as playing the movie villain goes, I think it's one of the best movie villain characters. And I'm sure Rutger Hauer would argue that he's not the villain. It's Harrison who's the villain. He's just trying to survive, which really shows in the movie, and it just adds so many more layers to Rutger Hauer's character. And I think he just, overall, he had a really great handle on the character, and that another example of how much he owned the character is really in the end sequence when he gives his Tears in Rain monologue, which anybody who's seen the movie just, that's most people's favorite parts. And he improvised the monologue. But of course I should mention that what people don't understand about improvisation is that they improvise it in rehearsals, not necessarily in front of the camera. But even still, he improvised poetry. It was really that good, in my opinion. Some other great compliments in the movie was the Vangelis soundtrack. It really puts you in that world. Really great research was put into it as far as that goes. Just the tremendous depth, and you almost empathize with the replicants who are supposed to be the bad guys. And I think that's what makes this movie shine over many other science fiction movies, is that the villain, in a different light, really isn't the villain. Some other theories that have been circled around is the theory that Deckard is a replicant. That's no real secret. It's still debatable. I didn't really spoil anything by saying that. I'm sure you'll question it yourself, and most people really don't know. And I think if you ask Ridley Scott, he would probably tell you that he doesn't know either. So let me know in the comments what you thought of Blade Runner. How does it hold up as a science fiction classic? Did you see the elements of film noir in it? And were the performances of Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer really that memorable? Who do you think was the villain and who was the bad guy? Stuff like that, and that's pretty much it.